if ChatGPT gives your customer the answer, why do they have to go to your website?
People are starting to learn how to like optimize further for ChatGPT and these other like AI search engines.
Creating incentives to go to the website becomes the differentiator for brands.
Instead of having an advertising model, they may rely more on commissions for product recommendations.
The AI internet is here. Welcome to the Funnel Show, your inside look at what's working right now to scale funnels to 8 figures and beyond. Whether you're scaling funnels for your own brand or for your clients, join us as we learn from the top funnel operators in the arena today. Together, let's find the patterns of success, uncover what works, and learn how to scale fast. I'm John Denny.
And I'm Ethan Denny.
We're brothers and co-founders of ConvertFlow, which launches and optimizes funnels for high-performance brands. And here's the best part. Everything we learn about scaling funnels is going straight into our AI platform, so you can put it to work today. In this episode, we dive deep into how AI is changing the way we shop online and how we build funnels. We discuss ConvertFlow's new product for the AI era, as well as the lessons we're learning as operators in the arena. Let's dive in.
What's going on, John?
The AI internet is here. Ethan, what's changing?
So much. We now have AI browsers. We have all kinds of things, right? But I think the main thing is it's affecting all of our work, right? In different areas. But I think most notably, we're all seeing it in just how we research and how we buy, right? The way that we're researching things for our work or in our personal lives. And when it comes to buying it, we're doing the research of like asking, what's the best product for this? What's the best product for that? Like, what would you recommend here? Like what, even when it comes to like local businesses, like which one has the best reviews or which, consumer products have the best reviews. A lot of people ask it like, what are the best tools for video editing or for whatever type of work that they're trying to do. And yeah, AI, ChatGPT and Perplexity and all of these different tools are just making it easy for people to get the answers that they're looking for. So I would say research is like the first thing that it's most notably, affected and changed for us.
So maybe similar to how like the video platforms kind of ate into top of the funnel, AI is eating into the top of the funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a good while there, while ChatGPT was out and Google hadn't had a response to it, people were using ChatGPT primarily. Well, maybe not primarily, but a lot of people were using ChatGPT to just, give the same queries that they would typically give to Google, but running it through ChatGPT. And at the same time, it can help you do a bunch of research that maybe Google couldn't do, right? And I think it was definitely eating into clicks for a lot of websites, right?
Google's got the whole like AI responses now.
They do now.
Yeah. And I feel like that is kind of, holding onto it. But in our own like Ahrefs, which is what we use for SEO, like we're seeing the traffic to informational pages go down, right? But what's interesting is that like the more commercial pages, more transactional type pages, the traffic has continued to increase.
So I think that relates, to the product recommendations that like ChatGPT is giving, right? And maybe other ones, Perplexity and things. Because people can go through the multiple clicks that they would typically have to go through on a search engine. Typically you would search a product or have some sort of query. You click a few of the search results, then you might go back to Google, enter a different query that's like a little further down the customer journey or the buyer's journey. But now with ChatGPT, like you can ask it a few questions and then get the recommended product within a matter of seconds, right? So it makes sense that it's driving people more to commercial pages, or in the case of like consumer brands, like product display pages, things like that.
I feel like we definitely see it because we have like a self-attribution survey. And I don't know if you noticed, like seeing notifications come through, like people have increasingly been writing ChatGPT, Perplexity, but tons of ChatGPT. But
you see it in our HubSpot reports as well for attribution.
But interestingly, the Google one, I think people just continue to write like Google search, right? So that's kind of a black box. Like whether it was AI or not. And I think the intent is easier to interpret by looking at like what page they landed on, right? Like, and it's increasingly more commercial type pages. But nevertheless, like SEO today, I think it means like optimizing for like multiple AIs and all that. And like I can't help but think about like all of the, I think we've like published more than like 2,000 like long form articles at this point on our site over years. And like, was that just like for training AI?
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, it being that ChatGPT and these different AI uh, models are like trained up on the internet and are indexing the internet, then yeah, I mean that's the content that existed, right? So on our website as well as all the other sites that had, try to optimize for Google and search engines.
Did you see that Cloudflare made it possible for publishers to now charge AI like to access the website?
I saw the CEO give a talk and mention that. Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. Like, um, I mean, I see the angle for that if like content is your business,
Yeah.
right? If you're not like selling anything beyond the content, then you want eyeballs on your website and maybe you're monetizing with advertising, right?
But that was like the top of the funnel. Like, you know, all the people Googling and reading articles, researching, discovering and all like that obviously got eaten up by social media and video platforms. But now like the AI just is like eating what's left there. So
Yeah.
it's like search is just, the part that actually lands on your website. It feels more like bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I remember seeing on X like uh, images of like HubSpot's rankings. I believe it was like through Href, like showing their traffic over time, and it's definitely like taken a hit, as well as some other websites that were known for like ranking and doing SEO really well and having a really strong SEO play. But yeah, it seems like a lot of these informational pages, ChatGPT is just like cutting out that entire traffic segment.
So would it be safe to say that like Google SEO is the first version of optimizing for AI?
It seems more and more like that. And now obviously like, we're people are starting to learn how to like optimize further for ChatGPT and these other like AI search engines. But yeah, I mean that I think that was V1.
Wow. So Google bot was the first AI bot.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Mhm.
So if ChatGPT gives your customer the answer, why do they have to go to your website? That's my big question.
I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people are asking themselves and are kind of concerned by, right? Because they may not be able to control the experience as much. They may not be able to influence the decision in terms of, being able to buy, why you should buy their products, and all the other things that kind of go uh, into influencing decisions further down the funnel. Design plays a role, like being conversational copy, persuasive copy plays a role. But ChatGPT doesn't really care about that stuff. It's looking at the facts, it's looking at the features, it's looking at the reviews, and comparing it to other products, and then just giving your customer or your audience like exactly what they need to know to determine whether it makes sense for them to like either click through to your site to the source. Um, yeah, does it make sense for them to go to the website? I still think so, obviously, to purchase, and to depending on the type of product that people are purchasing. If it's a higher priced product, like I don't think anyone's just going to buy that through ChatGPT. Um, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I feel like instead of shoppers like manually browsing like product catalogs, which I never really thought was like a good shopping experience, like when websites were just designed for you to just kind of search through product catalogs. I feel like AI is like kind of doing a lot of like the querying, the search queries for you. I think it's like a big tell that like um, Shopify is like kind of laying the groundwork with like ChatGPT and all that stuff to be able to like enable AI shopping. I don't know if
Right.
they're like doing it today. I know they have like an admin dashboard like connection, but I don't think they have like a consumer facing thing. But I think that ultimately is coming and it like becomes a third party like shopping platform. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So you and I were talking about this a little bit, and I searched it up, and it seems like they have
Yeah.
um, built that and are laying the groundwork for ChatGPT to be able to like process payments. I mean, ChatGPT is already like doing it, I think, um, outside of the Shopify ecosystem, or at least they're planning
Yeah.
to. But it seems like Shopify is planning to support it and make that like a channel for
Got it.
stores.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know
Um,
if like ChatGPT is gonna like get a commission or something like that, like a third party platform type thing?
It seems like that's what I've heard too. That like instead of having an advertising model, they may rely more on commissions for product recommendations. So we'll see what happens there. I think I think that in a way this opens up uh, a huge market for a lot of like smaller stores. As long as their like products
Discovered.
are like, yeah, as long as they're like the products have the right information to get recommended by ChatGPT, then yeah, it could help a lot with product discovery. Um, but at the same time, I think it's gonna definitely like impact brands' abilities to compete with each other and
Yeah,
differentiate.
so I actually feel like the website becomes more important here because the differentiation between brands like starts to be reduced so much, kind of like how it happened on Amazon. It's like how do you really like differentiate on Amazon? The website is that first like party experience like where you can differentiate, and like if you're not having to pay a platform fee like how you would with Amazon, on ChatGPT, there you what that means is like you could deliver, special offers. And like by having those special offers like limited to just like your website as opposed to, shopping on ChatGPT, you get to like control that visual experience. And I think that's the differentiator because like everyone's just getting this text based like output, maybe some image output. But like the best brands are gonna, have these like very persuasive like visual experiences that are like high fidelity and not just like a chatbot experience. I
Yeah.
think you know, creating incentives to go to the website becomes the differentiator for brands. Yeah.
That's super interesting that you say that. Like, I was thinking about with Amazon, like, why buy from a store on Amazon when you can go like
Yeah.
directly? And obviously, with Amazon, they promote convenience and like there's all these different fast shipping, all kinds of things like that are benefits to it. But um, you know, people will buy directly from the
Mhm.
store because they know they might pay a different price, or they might get a better
Yep.
offer. For example, I recently bought some adjustable
Mhm.
dumbbells, and they were running like a bigger sale or a bigger discount if you buy directly from
Right.
them versus buying through Amazon. So that was definitely an incentive to buy directly from their site. I also think like um, there's different types of products or product categories where they're just super visual
Yeah.
by nature, and so you're going to want to have like a visual shopping experience. Like for example, if you're shopping for clothes, like I don't really care what ChatGPT
Yeah.
recommends. I want to scroll through the website, look at different images, and then from there kind of like pick on things that like get my attention. But it's not so much of like you know a logical like query based
Yeah.
buyer's journey, right?
I also feel like the same like challenge with like Amazon kind of owning the customer and like you not really being able to reach them and them having like policies around that. I think that same thing ends up playing out like with AI. Like
Yeah.
at least like ChatGPT and all like becoming like a third party shopping platform is like, do you own that customer, right? Maybe it grows the pie, right? And in the sense that you get discovered in like brand awareness and you get new customers, like first time customers, but ultimately, your ability to reach your own customers through like own channels, whether it be like email marketing, SMS, push notifications through apps and stuff like that. I think that it becomes a big differentiator, a competitive advantage against like every other store who may all like be depending on Amazon and ChatGPT and all that stuff for discovery, right? The brands that like own their audience and access to their audience are able to sell a lot more without being like throttled by the platforms, or having like, or without being taxed by the
Pay
platforms and all.
yeah, the middleman
Yeah.
fee.
But nevertheless, like, you have to create incentives for the shopper to go to the website. So I think like offer delivery, and that exchange, I think, becomes more important in an AI shopping world.
So, I wonder here what Shopify is going to do with ChatGPT. Like, if they're going to drive people to, let's say, Shopify's
Mhm.
checkout, right? So, let's say you search for some product or product categories, and ChatGPT recommends a certain set of products. You click on one, or you click to add to cart, or you click to purchase, and it just immediately drives you to Shopify's checkout. Like, is for that store that's selling that product, like, is that going to be the experience? Or I wonder if Chat GPT will allow, like, and Shopify allow you to like have a multi-store
Mm.
cart, like a cart where,
Kind of like Instacart, like across. Yeah.
yes, right, you're adding multiple products to the cart, and then it drives you to a checkout that's hosted through Shop Pay or
Right.
whatever. Shop Pay, I think, is already uh, I think it already shows you what items you have in the cart on the mobile
Yep.
app, maybe across different stores. So they may be in a good position to do that. And we're having like a multi-store checkout uh, page. But then I wonder if like they're going to share the customer data with everyone. I imagine they would.
They
Um,
won't. I mean, they're pretty, yeah, they don't like to share that.
well, Shopify though, I imagine would, obviously, because customers have the stores
Oh
have
no,
to
I meant
fulfill on those
like I
products.
don't know if ChatGPT is going to share it, if they're
Yeah,
actually
that's a good
like if
question.
they're actually handling the shopping there.
It might just be like the address and like the shipping information, maybe, like, to
Yeah.
fulfill.
Or maybe they just direct people to the websites, right?
We'll see. I think that would be the better situation for most independent brands, for sure.
Agreed. Interesting.
So, all right, AI is obviously affecting how we research. It's spilling into all kinds of areas of our work. Uh, I've seen, obviously, all kinds of like video editing tools that are being impacted by AI. It's impacting sales tools, and obviously for developers, I think it's impacting them too. How's that looking for you? Like, how's it impacting your
Oh
work?
yeah, this has been insane this year. So we started using Cursor for developing. We develop, obviously, ConvertFlow for anyone watching, and it's just insane because like basically features that like may have taken like a week to build, maybe 2 weeks to build. Us kind of planning around that has gone out the window because we might just be able to do it in like an hour or 2 hours,
Yeah.
because Cursor kind of changes the workflow from like you having to sit and like kind of write out all this code to get it done, to you prompt an agent, and the agent is as smart as like the code that you've already given it, right? The code folder where you have patterns and automated tests and all that stuff. And if when a team's invested a lot in that, then the AI just kind of knows what to do with it. And of course, you can like give it some rules and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, it compresses like this project work that could have taken weeks to like hours and maybe a maximum a day. And so the speed with which like we're able to ship has definitely increased, right?
Hmm.
It definitely makes there there's more of a demand on in terms of like product management now, because like we have to ship faster, right? And we have to give feedback faster.
So do you feel like product managers or product management, it becomes more of the
Yes,
bottleneck in this sort of scenario
and
rather
quality
than less
assurance.
developers?
But
Interesting.
I mean, obviously, most people watching this are not developers, but I think like developers are the bleeding edge of these highly like technical online like workflows, and I think there's a lot to learn from that and how that's gonna kind of trickle down into every other type of like digital, professional creative workflow, right? Um, yeah, I mean, how are you finding that it's changing your workflow more on like marketing sales side?
Well, before I jump into that, like, really quick, like, when it comes to like building product or like developing different features, things like that, like, and which like types of features or ways do you feel like what type of work is it speeding up the most? Is it like new feature development? Is it like, optimizing existing code, or like, fixing bugs, or, you know,
Yeah, so if I had to break it down, it would be like prototyping way faster.
okay.
So I feel like there was a lot
Really?
of tedious work in just like taking like a design and then getting it like built out, right? And like that part has been just compressed into like a couple prompts, right? Especially if it's already working off like a code base that has patterns, right? In terms of like how you like structure things and not. So yeah, prototyping, and then the next thing would be like um, implementing, right? If there's something that like requires a lot of repetitive units of work, right? You're just kind of executing over and over and over. It's great for that because you can just kind of say, do this, and it'll just like kind of fill in the rest, right? So you can kind of just get it, kind of push it up the hill, and then it kind of just goes down the hill with a couple prompts,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like, with AI, like you get the most benefit when like you can provide a lot of
Yeah.
context. So I imagine like the things that it has context on, like you can move forward on faster,
Yeah.
right?
And I do think it helps in terms of like quality assessment because it makes like doing things like writing automated tests like much faster. It makes like spotting bugs like quicker, issues in the code, error in the code, like those types of things it spots really quickly. So again, like to learn from this, it's those like improvements to workflow, I think are going to be distributed to all types of online work. The developers did it really quickly because they could empathize with themselves, so they're like, in a way they're kind of automating themselves, but really what's happening is that like they're just eliminating all the tedious work that is annoying, so that way they can just run with building, right? Like, there's some arguments that it's like kind of harder for like a junior developer to kind of come in, but I think it just changes what a junior developer is expected to be able to do, which is like you need to be able to build things, right? But yeah, I think that dynamic is about to play out for a lot of things. But yeah, what are you seeing on like the sales side?
Well, for me, I think there's two parts. Like, one, there's like it helping as a thought partner, and yeah, for strategy, for working out different scenarios. But because I spend a lot of my time in the sales like workflows, yeah, what I'm finding it most useful for, or having the biggest impact on, is emails and being able to email people, right? So it's really changed how quickly I can get back to people, or just start entirely new conversations using like auto drafted emails. So, for example, I use a tool, that popular email tool called Superhuman for email, and they have context in my entire inbox and my tone of voice and all of that. And it's kind of like what I think a lot of like, maybe founders would hire like an executive assistant to help with. Superhuman helps with, where it reminds you which emails you need to follow up on. It auto drafts follow ups. And obviously you could tweak them and maybe not send them, but it does help a ton with like being able to move through email faster. And then the second thing is like, when starting up sales conversations or reaching out to leads and things like that, we use some tools that help basically draft email sequences or multi-channel sequences, um, based on who the company, or like what the company is, who the person is, what title they have, like what type of work they are doing, um, and then context from their relationship with our company. And it's pretty amazing, how quickly it can draft up really personalized emails that need a few tweaks here and there. I wouldn't like trust it to run on autopilot yet. Um, but it gets you 80 to 90% there. Now I do think there's a point where like we could trust running it on autopilot. But it's just a matter of like setting more context, giving it more context, and then just continuing to optimize the prompts so that like the accuracy of those auto drafted emails, or the emails that it sends out, are just great.
Right. Yeah. So like at ConvertFlow, we're building funnels. Our customers are building funnels. Our team, we're all building funnels. Uh, it AI is going to change how we build funnels for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the big thing that we're working on is ConvertFlow Remix, and you've been deep in the trenches on that. So, maybe tell us a little bit about that and what you're seeing.
Well, it's about building funnels quickly with AI, right? Like to be honest, like we weren't really sure at first how AI would change the ConvertFlow product. I think we saw like a lot of SaaS tools like race to adding AI to the mix.
Yeah,
And in my opinion, I think a lot of them kind of got cannibalized by like ChatGPT and all. But you were kind of like leaning into um, like higher touch, like onboarding services,
sure.
personalizing things for each account more, doing like even like managed services and done for you type stuff. Um, and like it from that, there's a huge demand for like creative and a huge demand for optimization, experimentation, all that. And there's so much work there, right? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think in that work, like we've really seen that, like, some of the biggest things to focus on is just still how long it takes, you know, someone to launch their funnel, right? There's like a lot of creative work, a lot of building work, a lot of work to just like go up the hill, in terms of like, what offer you put together, like for which segment, things like that, what the creative looks like, and then eventually like getting it all built and executing it all. So, yeah, I think that's definitely like what we've noticed, like just helping our customers do the work of launching funnels, is that the majority of the work is still like in the building, in the designing, and the creative work.
Yeah. So, from that, like that, we started the AI roadmap for ConvertFlow, which we're calling ConvertFlow Remix, and it builds funnels for you. So we'll be showing much more about that. But we could talk a little bit about how we're building it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. So challenge here is, how do you have an AI like build the funnel that you want and it not just be like AI slop? Like, so fortunately we've been able to like play around with like some AI like website builders and stuff like that. Uh, Ethan, I know you've tried a ton as well, and you know some of them are pretty on point, and then but a lot of it ends up feeling like what we call like AI slop, right? Where it's like it looked like what you wanted, maybe, but like when it comes to like working with it, it's like hard to work with. So you're almost like, you know what? Let me just start from scratch, right? Yeah. Have you found that or?
Yeah, I find like these like AI website builders, um, it's almost like dreaming. Like, uh, you may the output is like kind of foggy and like uh very conceptual, but not something you would actually ship, right? It's like it requires a lot of editing. It kind of like nudges you in the direction that maybe you could go in, but there's nothing like tangible there that you would actually like ship. And so, yeah, it helps with like giving you an idea of like what the structure could look like potentially.
Yeah. My gripe with it was actually how it structures that, right?
Ah,
Where it's like it outputs it in a way that's not like intuitive to edit, right?
mm,
It's like, yeah, cool. It looked like what I wanted, but it didn't do it in a way that was like intuitive for me to edit, right? So we're addressing that like head on, right? With Remix. So what we're actually doing is we're seeding a library of like content layouts, right? That are all like pre-approved by a designer and done in a way where it's all very intuitive and easy to edit. And we're using that to train the AI. So essentially, what the AI does at first is it glues it together, right? And then it personalizes it for your brand and like based off what you upload. So yeah, like we don't want the AI slop basically. We're actually willing to like not target like 100% done. We're
mm.
actually willing to target like 60, 70, 80% done, and then but you filling that gap is like the most productive that it can be. And that I think that's our objective, because like our objective is like for it to be shipped, like for what you want to be shipped, and for you to not have to like throw away like what the AI outputted.
Yeah, I think everybody wants like AI to just do it all for them, right? All the AI features in the tools that they're using to just do it all for them. Um, and I know that's kind of the dream that we're all buying here, but like, uh, I think it's yeah, I think it's most effective like when the human comes in for like the final
Right.
10%, right? Maybe even the first 10% and the final 10%, and then 80% of the work is just done by
Yeah.
the AI, right? So maybe the humans prompting and setting context, and then AI does most of the work, and then the humans doing the final editing and shipping and launching of publishing or whatever content gets
Yeah.
created.
So I think that's
Um,
like a good way to put it. So like AI ConvertFlow Remix gets you like 80% of the way there. And then there's a bunch of remix features to make sure that closing that 20% gap is fast and easy and intuitive, and that the outcome that you get is actually like your desired outcome, and not like constrained by like what the AI had in mind. And the way that we're doing that is by supporting different ways to start building a funnel with AI. So you can start from scratch, but you could also like input a website, or you could just upload a URL or an image upload, and then from that we take that and go from there.
I think one other thing that's really valuable about having like uh, humans kind of lay the groundwork or lay the foundation that like let's say these AI features are working within, um, is let's say like with the content like template library that we're creating for this AI like funnel uh, generated templates and things like that. Um, there's like taste, you know, the humans are adding the taste factor, right? A lot of times, like if you use ChatGPT to like I don't know, give you post ideas, like to post on LinkedIn or to
Or like
post like different
recipe
types of
ideas.
things, or yeah, which went over quite well for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I had a funny situation where my fiance Sasha, shout out to Sasha, was like, "Hey, can you make like a Cajun chicken for dinner?" Like she's like, "I have the side, like I just need you to make a Cajun chicken." She was like, "Look up a recipe." I'm like, haha, this is my chance. Like use ChatGPT. So I like look up Cajun chicken recipe, and I followed it to the T. And let's just say it has no taste. It was
Wow,
bland
it
and all that.
missed.
So I kind of learned my lesson there to like, for recipes, like going through YouTube is the move, because the people there that are influential have taste, right? So you can't like, while AI can like speed things up, you don't want to lose like the human component, which may add like taste and culture. So I feel like that's why you never really fully get 100% there. And I think like these software tools need to design around that, which is like making sure the humans are injecting taste, right?
Exactly. And then AI is like curating, personalizing,
Inspiring.
and customizing that for whatever end
Yeah, and just
user.
taking out as much of the tedious work as possible, right?
Yeah. Well, we're definitely trying to do that with the template library that we're creating for our AI like funnel feature remix, so that like you know the templates and the pages and the campaigns that are actually created have had like human thoughtfulness and approval of like design and conversion best practices, implementing that and basically setting up the AI to like be able to succeed at delivering something a human would want and that a human would want to interact with.
What I'm really excited about is the way that we've built it is going to allow it to get smarter and smarter. So rather than like just using like OpenAI like ChatGPT or Anthropic, like we're using some of that like where those like models are best fit, right? We still like found like they weren't really effective or consistent for like certain types of workloads, and like a lot of the workload that we have for this is pretty heavy. So we had to start hosting our own stuff. So what we did was we started hosting our own TensorFlow model to handle like heavier image based stuff. And what we started to do is like layer on logic on top for training, right? So based off like what people upload, we're able to use that as positive feedback or negative feedback to improve things over time. So I'm like really excited to see over time how it develops, right? As we start putting in tons of feedback through it, it's only going to get smarter.
Yeah. Yeah. So phase one of ConvertFlow Remix is it's now in private beta. So our users are able to provide some feedback and help train that model so that it'll provide better and better AI generated templates and matches and things like that.
Yep. And then the next phase of Remix is going to be compressing the time it takes to add like additional creative and like running experiments and all of that. Right now, we're really focused on kind of standing something up, right? Like the customer trying to get something up and shipped. But the next like kind of phase of that AI roadmap is more so like on the experimentation side of things as well.
What would you say like our ultimate goal is with ConvertFlow Remix here?
It's to be able to run funnels like a 9-figure brand with one person and not like a whole team.
I agree. Yeah, to save a lot of the development time, a lot of the time on design, and a lot of time on offer development.
Yeah, and like funnel building is like something that a lot of times at smaller companies, there's not like really one person owning it, right? And like the same for agencies, like agencies will own like running ads or like sending emails, right? And then kind of like do the funnel building on the side to kind of augment it. And that does often seem to be the nature at the earlier stage of brands in terms of optimizing their funnels, is that it's like there's not like multiple people, but it often demands that to like have like a proper effort there. It demands like multiple people being involved. So
yeah, because you have like specialized work, design, development, copywriting, CRO,
data analysis,
performance marketing, like advertising creative. Like there's so much in there. And then like just understand the finance and understanding the unit economics of the business, right? So there's so many like specialized inputs there that are needed to kind of make the whole thing work.
All right, well, that's all that we can say about ConvertFlow Remix for today.
For now.
But
yeah,
nevertheless, just take some time to kind of recap some lessons. So Ethan, what's a lesson that you've learned recently, while building ConvertFlow?
So one thing that's just, I feel like this is a lesson that like I've learned time and time, and I think we both have learned over time, but in a way it kind of gets reinforced and you kind of learn it again and again. So, something that's been on my mind recently is like, for us, I feel like, selling premium products at premium prices just solves all kinds of problems, right? When trying to scale your marketing, trying to scale your business. I would say like the key to scaling funnels is essentially being able to just afford keeping up with customer acquisition costs and being able to acquire customers profitably. So that's why brands and marketers are constantly optimizing their funnels, is to make the numbers work, right? So they can continue to invest marketing spend and budget to grow the business and not run out of money while doing it. So I feel like if I'm learning this again and again here, but if you charge premium prices, and obviously you have to sell premium products to charge those premium prices, you basically like eliminate a lot of problems that you would typically have to solve for if you're selling low price products. So if you're selling low price products, you have to do all this like funnel optimization in order to maximize revenue from every customer segment. So your low spend customers, your high spend customers, your customers in the middle, you're having to introduce upsells and abandonment and downsells and all these different things in order to kind of like maximize the revenue potential you get from every like 1,000 visitors, for example, right? Or 1,000 leads. Um, and if you just charge more, like a lot of those problems get solved. And it just like allows you to focus on the next thing.
I feel
So
like this is like one of those IQ curve type examples. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, we'll throw it up on the screen. The IQ curve is this like funny meme where you've got like the caveman on the left side, implying low IQ, and then you've got this kind of anxious midwit and the middle IQ, and they're like trying everything and trying too hard. And then like there's the Jedi at the upper end of the high end IQ curve. And like the caveman and the Jedi come to the same conclusions, which is like some simple solution. And then like the try hard midwit anxious guy is trying way too much. They're over analyzing everything. They're not taking the right actions because they can't see it clearly. And ironically, the Jedi person thinks that they're the dumb caveman, and the midwit person thinks that they're the Jedi, and the caveman knows that they're the caveman. But in this case here, like the Jedi move and the caveman move is just charge more.
right, yeah, the person, the midwit, or the person at the top there that's thinking about everything and trying so much, like they have the curse of knowledge, right? And they're dealing with the complexity of it all, of all that knowledge, and trying to like figure out what works, while the Jedi has like maybe been able to see the patterns and just knows the simple solution.
Interesting. Yeah, charge more. So I guess that means like you can increase your first order value. For a consumer, for B2B, obviously for SaaS, it's like charging more in the subscriptions. So there's like LTV, which is like repeat orders for consumer, but for B2B, it's like long-term retention contracts, all that stuff, annual retention. I guess for consumer subscription, it's just like monthly churn, reducing that. Yeah.
And like obviously to charge more, like your product might have to evolve, right? Or like the products you sell might need to change. Like if you want to charge premium prices, you need to like develop or build or sell premium products, right? But what's interesting is that like a product, to a certain customer type that they'd consider premium and is willing to pay a premium price for, another customer just may not. They don't value it the same. And so I think like it when you charge more, it forces you to ask yourself like, all right, well, who would be willing to pay for this? And then you can just focus your marketing and customer acquisition on like those types of people. And it just makes all these other decisions around your messaging channel, the channels you use and all kinds of things like that in order to acquire those customers. It just makes all that pretty clear. So yeah, I think charging more, selling things at premium prices it's a lesson that we've kind of learned time and time again. But I feel like at different stages of our business, and we see it, with the brands we work with, it solves a lot of things, that you have to optimize for otherwise.
You're kind of in the trenches with a bunch of consumer brands. Like, what are you seeing there?
Well, you see smaller brands who have lower AOVs, and they have to try all kinds of things in order to keep up with CAC, keep up with customer acquisition costs on Meta and through other channels. And so they have to sell more products. They have to, get people on subscriptions. They have to bundle their products in different ways and upsell and downsell and cross sell. And they've got to make the most of their welcome, flow within the first 7 days and try to like, really like differentiate themselves and create like some demand and things like that in order to sell their products. While like, let's say a luxury brand like a furniture store, right, is selling couches, they're selling other types of like high ticket or high priced products. They can afford to be a little less optimized in their funnel because the numbers just work better for them. Or if they just, especially if they control the manufacturing and have like much better margins and things like that, the numbers just work better and they can afford the higher customer acquisition costs. Um, and they don't have to optimize their funnel as much. Obviously, when they do, everything works better. But
They were just like focus on the basics, and like optimizing those basics really well, huh?
yeah, and obviously they still want to upsell and cross sell and invest in LTV for the customer and things like that. But they can just get away with more, and can focus on making multiple channels where maybe work for them rather than counting on this one channel to to be super profitable for them.
I feel like at ConvertFlow, our funnel, like this is definitely true. Like, we've sold to prosumer consumer types, we've sold to SMBs, and we've obviously sold to mid markets and like enterprises. And like, you know, I feel like we've definitely learned ConvertFlow is more like an upmarket product.
Yeah.
Because like if you need traffic to be able to like optimize, right?
Right.
Yeah. And like the retention is just like much better for like more mature businesses. The LTV is so much better. And customer acquisition cost is high, like in B2B SaaS. And like I don't know about you, I don't really feel like we really found a way to like reduce customer acquisition costs other than like, increasing the number of customers we get through like word of mouth, maybe. But you know, it we you kind of just have to accept that like CAC is expensive. And it's like if you have the LTV to afford it, then it's fine. Like you could pay to acquire customers. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, customer acquisition costs, I think they always end up like going up, right? Unless
yeah.
there's a platform
Inflation.
change,
Yeah.
right? Then there's some arbitrage or an opportunity for some arbitrage where you could take advantage of lower customer acquisition costs for a period of time, but they always end up going up. So you know, it was a Dan Kennedy, I think, that said that the one who can afford to spend the most to acquire a customer wins. I feel like
Right.
that's true for all brands and B2B companies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge though, because like we've started like a lot of really small brands, tiny customers, but like the truth is LTV just doesn't afford the customer acquisition costs,
Right.
like for them alone, right? Like, and I think a lot of this has to do with the nature of ConvertFlow. Like ConvertFlow allows for a lot of freedom. Like the product is very free form. It really favors like professional users, right?
Right.
Yeah, and like I think we get feedback from customers. A lot of times it's like from early stage brands and all, that it's like the product's hard to use. And it's like, yeah, I hear you. Like, yeah, it is hard. Like you could do a lot with it, right? And I feel like to have better fit, maybe down market, we'd have to like limit the product in ways that like our best customers would not be happy with, right?
Yeah. But what's
Yeah.
interesting is the customers that get the most value from it, which are like the larger brands and the marketers at those brands, the marketing teams, um, is that they find it, you know, pretty easy, very easy to use actually, and it gives them the control that they need without having to involve like developers, for example. But it's because they're used to using these types of products, and also because you know the return on investment is there for them in order to use these types of products. While, like, for example, the owner of a small brand, like, they have to wear multiple hats. They're focused on a lot of different things. They've got 30 minutes to get some sort of campaign live, and they don't have time to like figure out a tool. So the tool really needs to do almost all the work for them, right? So that they can just turn things on. Now, I think that's the promise of like using AI, right? And being able to provide that to larger brands, that same sort of outcome of, hey, like, we know a lot about the type of work you do, your brand. We have your information on your products and all these things, and we can help you, cut that campaign launch time down by a lot, right? So it is something you could do in minutes, but they still want control, and they want it personalized, and a universal kind of like one size fits all approach doesn't work for them, while it could work for a small business.
Yeah, I feel like if I were to start another B2B brand, I'd perhaps like consider like skipping targeting like very small businesses, because the customer acquisition cost these days is so high when there's like so much less arbitrage. Like you have to have a high enough LTV for you to be able to like predictably acquire those customers. Now, with that said, though, like I think SMBs are like super important for like a SaaS business. I think they're great, especially like when you're getting started, because there's so much more forgiving and like they'll share your product. There's a lot of people for them to share it with. I think the challenge is like when your feedback loop is focused on the SMB, like the very small business, because it's hard to build a business on when they're the target, right?
Right, because they're forgiving when it comes to like using the product sometimes, but when they're not forgiving, it just shows up in churn, and
Yeah,
that's
just
why
cancel,
like SMB,
right?
like some very small businesses have like super high churn rates.
Or they just cease to exist and then they churn, right? So they cancel at super high rates. But like most of our revenue comes from higher LTV customers, right? Um, so I think it's more of just a matter of like targeting, but at the same time, like supporting small businesses and all is super important. But if we're not like targeting small business, like very small businesses, like do you feel like having like a more product like inbound funnel like still helps? Like, what do you think is like the role of that like product funnel if you're not really like targeting very small businesses?
Yeah, I think so, because I feel like there's, at least when it comes to like say SaaS or even B2B, I think there's a consumerization of like B2B buying journeys, right? So ChatGPT is like I think helping with that a lot actually. But yeah, I think
LinkedIn.
in LinkedIn, and then we've gone through waves of companies like having user based pricing that creates like a professional tool for the individual user and counts on them discovering the tool and then using it and then sharing it with their team and things like that, and it's starting to spread within the organization. And so I think yeah, even if you have a high LTV and you're not targeting, let's say, like really small businesses, having the product funnel is just now a requirement as of the buyer's journey when it comes to like buying tools and software and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think you kind of get a lot of small businesses, like very small businesses, as a result of having like a product funnel.
yeah.
Like it just naturally produces a lot of those types of like fully self-service type of customers that may have like a low lifetime value. Um, but I think it's just not acquiring just them, right? Like,
So I think it's interesting because I feel like yeah, having the relationship with small businesses and or even like the prosumer users, like it creates a tension with your product where like you have to design really good product. Um, Otherwise they won't use your product, right? There's no one top down telling them, hey, we bought this new software, it sucks to use, but this is what we're using now, right?
yeah,
Like if the end user doesn't like using it, they're not going to use it, right? So
buyer is the user,
right. So it creates a scenario where you have to develop really good product. But I think the teams building those products have to be really like disciplined about which signals they listen to. So Shopify, for example, apparently doesn't I guess they don't really like they're not so concerned with the churn rates for small brands because they know that the brands are starting and stopping and shutting down all the time.
come back. Yeah.
But what they're trying to do is increase the funnel, right? And they do that by expanding the surface area of their product and making their product easier and easier for a small brand to use. But they know that like over time, those small brands become big brands and end up using Shopify for all their like more mature features and things like that. And then they end up with like great LTV over time. So yeah, I think the product funnel still matters a ton, but you need to pair it with like a sales led motion if you're going to sell to larger businesses for sure. These are just more signals for a sales led motion, right? Today, like with all these AI tools that and like data tracking tools and lead generation and enrichment tools for sales teams, they're always paying attention to like signals that help them like reach out to leads and prospects and things like that to make sure that their outreach is personalized. Um, and I think having a good product funnel just gives you even more signals to work with, and signals that relate to a relationship you have with the end user or customer. Yep. Any lessons on your end? I mean, I feel like we definitely went down the rabbit hole on selling premium prices as premium products to premium prices. What would you say that any lessons on your side?
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw his tweet and I think I have beef with this guy now because
Beef.
like, I don't know. I feel like his tweet, I don't like the intention behind it. Here, I'll read it. We'll put it up on the screen, but he says here like the romanticization of being a startup founder is kind of insane to me. You're statistically unlikely to succeed. You'll have no life and be totally consumed. Incredible lows. You're locking yourself in for 10 plus years. This is insanely hard and not for everyone. So if you're building a business, you cannot let pessimists like this get in your head.
Mm.
And, while he's not wrong, like I just don't like the intention of that post. And like, I'll break it down for you. So like, let's look at this. Like, you're statistically unlikely to succeed. Like, okay, I feel like success is super subjective. I don't know why you, Ethan, like, my definition of success is probably a bit different than yours. I mean, we're co-founders, so it's like pretty aligned, right? But like, maybe success is not like having a massive unicorn company and like getting acquired by big tech or like having an IPO or something like that. Maybe it's just like having a great, lifestyle business or a great small business or just like a solid business that lasts like for a long time. And like the success rate of that is not super low, right?
Right.
Like I feel like uh people assume that like it's super low. And I think if you were to take every single like LLC that's ever started and then look at how many like end up doing well, yeah, that rate is probably super low.
Right.
But like how many, if you were to limit it to the people that like actually tried in that and wasn't just like some shell LLC just sitting there
Or just an idea
getting renewed, or like a domain name, like I just pay for all these domain names that just are on renewal, like those probably get counted in these statistics, right? I'm saying if you were to limit it, like how many of those businesses that get started that actually become like a small business that like pay, allow someone to like maybe work full time, like maybe live where they want, all that stuff, it's probably much higher than you would think.
Yeah, and I think if people are adapting to the market and adapting to feedback, like over time, they can iterate to a place that they want to be in.
Exactly. Yeah. And like at a minimum, it's not just about like, becoming wealthy and all that stuff. Like I feel like starting a business is like it's a personal growth journey. And like, yeah, it's got like financial KPIs and all that stuff, but you can really measure it. But ultimately it's about like who you're becoming like in that process. Cause you're always like being humbled and you're always like being challenged and you're having to like step up and do stuff. So I feel like you know, you can kind of measure the success of a business a lot by the personal growth like you get from it.
You have to wear so many different hats too, and like the business growth is just a reflection of like your personal growth. Like if you're repeating lessons over and over again because you haven't like grown personally to deal with those, like then the business doesn't grow.
Yeah. So like Twitter guy, yeah, like you're statistically unlikely to succeed if your definition of success is, becoming a billionaire, right? But if it's like, leveling up yourself and like being full time or like at least like, achieving some degree of like personal wealth, it's probably not unlikely. It's actually quite likely. In fact, like I understand that small businesses are how most people become wealthy,
Yeah,
at least in the United States.
my
Yeah.
understanding too.
All right, like his other thing here is like you'll have no life and be totally consumed. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's not
It's,
wrong regarding the totally consumed part.
it's definitely true. But like I feel like the spirit of saying the way he said that, and I could be assuming here, I'm triggered, right? Is like that his goal maybe is to not work, right? Like I don't know about you, like I like working on like stuff that's like curious to me. Like I get a kick out of that, right? So like I feel like starting up, yeah, you work a lot, right? Like running a business, you work a lot, right? But it doesn't really mean that you like have no life. Like maybe you just have a life with more purpose while you're doing it, right? I think that's like kind of the spirit of why a lot of people start things, right? Is like
Gives it a meaning, like more meaning.
yeah, they're in a position where it's like they don't really feel like their work has any purpose other than like earning money, and you switch into something where that you feel a lot more purpose and you feel like all this alignment around like your personal growth.
And you're expressing, like you're using your strengths, and you're expressing like it's a creative outlet too, so the things that you're intellectually kind of curious about, or things that you can get better at, like you get to deliver and work at through the business.
Yeah, and like you can measure it with these like financial KPIs,
Right.
and like it can make you wealthy and all that, and like give you a bunch of benefits. Like I feel like with ConvertFlow, like we're so like we just geek out about funnels. Like we love talking with brands, learning about how they build funnels, what's worked, like uncovering the truth about like what's worked for them.
Yeah.
And all it's like it's our intellectual curiosity, and like the company being built around it is a reflection of that and us chasing our curiosity.
I think,
right?
just to like double tap on that really quick, I think it's, because it simplifies the business down to like a customer journey, the unit economics of the business, like the value proposition. So I guess it simplifies a lot of the core things about will this business work or not into, a customer journey you can optimize. Yes, that's why we love funnel so much.
Yeah, and so I feel like yeah, work a lot, right? But it feels like very meaningful work. I also do think like it's a running a business is about freedom, and like maybe it's freedom to chase that curiosity and like be able to sustain yourself while like leaning into it, right?
For sure.
Yeah. I also feel like a lot of it's maybe opting out of like systems where like it requires a lot of permission from like other people, right?
I was gonna say, I think it's also the freedom to choose what to work on.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times, like demands of the business require you to work on things that maybe you don't want to work on, but it's needed in order to get to the next stage or for the business to continue operating on. But for the most part, every day, like you can kind of choose what to focus on or what to work on, and so having that freedom, having that optionality, I think is a great thing that a lot of people enjoy when starting a business for themselves.
Yeah. So like again, like the goal isn't to like not work, right? It's like to work on the right things. And like I feel like this is like very apparent. Like when you're starting a business and like your main goal is just to like, just a little bit of like class mobility, right? Like you're not like worried about becoming some unicorn success and getting all this like attention as a result of it. Like you're just trying to get into a position where you feel like secure without all of the like fear of someone else, right? Controlling like your situation, right? Without like there being like too many gatekeepers and all that stuff. So I don't know, I feel like that point of like you'll have no life, totally consumed, again, the spirit behind it, I don't know if it has like good intentions. um yeah.
So there's one part here where he talks about incredible lows. Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, I imagine with every business they're different, but what are your thoughts on the incredible lows that you may face when running a business?
I don't know about you, but like sometimes there's lows with ConvertFlow, right? Uh, you know, sometimes it's like could be like a churn wave that hits. It's like it's frustrating. We're like so close to hitting that number, then it like churn wave hits, right?
Or let let's go with another obvious one is like layoffs. If you have to like lay off people, right? Like
Yeah.
that is low every single time.
Or like hiring the wrong person and then having to do that and all that stuff. Like that's a massive low, right? But I feel like handling lows is like it's just part of it, but it's definitely like a learned, like handling it's a learned skill. Like I think it's a skill you have to like, develop, right? I think a lot of it objectively is dealing with your, learning how to cover your downside, like when taking risk, right? It's like building a business is all about this like chicken and egg problem that you're constantly trying to solve, and you're trying to, you have to take some risks to be able to solve it, right? To get past like a plateau and like get to that next step, right? And like in the process of taking risks, like you have to learn how to cover your downside, and um the downside, would be the worst low that you would have, right? So if your downsides are covered, what happens is the upside is what's left, right? So I feel like this is perhaps like as entrepreneurs become more professional about it, this is how they think about it, right?
Yeah,
If they've like had a
risk
bunch of this,
mitigation.
yeah, they're like mitigating risks. They're kind of limiting the downside. So that way, like those lows, even though they're going to be there, they're not like fatal, right? But recognize that like that requires thinking of entrepreneurship as a professional career, right? I think a lot of people kind of go into starting a business, growing a business, all that stuff. They're not really thinking about it as their career.
Yeah, they may also pour their life savings into something,
Yeah.
and obviously it can be hard to get off the ground, and things don't always work the way you like want them to or think they will. And it can create some serious lows. And so if you haven't covered your downside and you create a lot of risk for yourself at the same time, then yeah, I can imagine it's really tough. So
Yeah, but we're taking these risks, but we don't necessarily think of it as a career sometimes, right? So like,
right, if your goal is to play the game for a long time, then you think about things differently, right?
yes, exactly. So like when you do look at entrepreneurship and building a business and all that stuff as your career and you treat it as such, you understand that like, it spans multiple ventures, multiple iterations, multiple pivots of all of your different startups, right? That you're gonna have, right? And like if you could think about it professionally, you'll look at things like taking risk, covering your downside more intentionally, right? And that way, like you don't have these like truly incredible lows. It's just like things in between wins, right? Yeah. All right. So this the next point here, he's saying like you're locking yourself in for 10 years. Okay, absolutely true. It's going on 10 years to ConvertFlow,
Yep.
right? But startups they compound over time, right? If you're like chasing some hype cycle and it's all dependent on like investors, and if the investors move on from like the hype cycle that you're a part of, then like yeah, it's not going to compound. It's going to just fizzle out, right? But if you're not doing that, if you're actually like trying to build it over time, it's going to compound, right? For 10 years, which is it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing,
Sure.
right? So, but you should assume 10 years. I agree. You should assume 10 years, but you have to like build some moats, so somewhat defensible, so it lasts like 10 years, right?
I think also, that perspective of like you're locking yourself in for 10 years, it's, it's definitely got like there's truth in it, but it kind of has like a negative connotation to it. Like
That's my problem with this whole tweet. Like,
imagine if like you just aligned multiple things for your life and you're saying like, yes, I'm going to do this for 10 years, right? But you're okay with it because you're aligned on multiple fronts, right? Then it becomes easy. It becomes something that you're excited to commit to, right? Kind of like when you commit to getting married, right? And you want to be married with this person for your whole life. Like you've found alignment on a lot of different things that you feel good about committing to this person for a long time. And it's not like this thing like, oh, I'm just locking myself in for X amount of time, whatever. So that I think that's the case with businesses. Like if you're going to start a business, you're right. This guy's right. Like you definitely need to give it, a serious amount of time to let things compound. But it should come from a place of alignment rather than a place of like fear or
it's not a negative thing.
It's
It's a
not a negative thing,
positive
right?
thing. Yeah, you have conviction, right? Like you have a vision that's 10 years or more, because that's probably what it's going to take. And like, financially, it's going to compound if you are serious about it. And, at a minimum, it's also going to compound for you, like personally, right? Because you're building a business it's a personal growth journey with financial KPIs. So I think that's super important to mention as well.
Yeah. And while you can blow a lot of money on a lot of things in business, like at the same time, it's one of the things you can control to some degree to maybe get better returns than investing in directly in like the market or the S&P. Like if because
It's not passive. Yeah.
you can control a number of factors, right? Like it doesn't mean you're not going to lose a lot of money or waste a lot of money in the process, but like you know your chances of beating the market are, I think, higher if you've got certain
Controls.
if you have certain controls, right? And if you're willing to iterate, if you're willing to build the different types of leverage that you need in order to do well, then I think you have a pretty good chance at beating the market.
All right. So the last thing he says here is that this is insanely hard and not for everyone. Okay. That is the point. That's the point of entrepreneurship, building a business. Most people don't want to do hard stuff. And because of that, there's just way less competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually so. I think it's relative. Like entrepreneurship doesn't have to be this like uh black or white thing. Like I think like it's a spectrum.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree with this point that he's making here.
Yeah. And like it really doesn't have to be that hard if when you're choosing things that are hard to that are a little bit harder to do, but there's less competition. So, in the long run, it's really not that hard to have like an extraordinary outcome.
Or if
right?
it's something that you're just really motivated to do, like you're willing to work a lot harder or do the things that someone who's not motivated is willing to do.
Exactly. Right. So you're playing like a high result, game, right? And where there's fewer players, right? So I don't necessarily agree that it's like harder than everything else, right? But yeah, I do agree though it's not for everyone, right? Like, you have to like try something that's hard, but in the long run may actually be easier to have a great outcome, or a great success from it, right? But like the trick here is to be really serious about it. I think like when I think a lot of people they like the idea of running their business and starting up, and they like the like attention around it. Maybe they like the lifestyle around it and all that. I get it, right? Like there's a bunch of fun things around the community around it, super fun. All that startup world, super fun. The press, that type of stuff, all feels really good. Getting like crazy numbers and all stuff, vanity metrics, that could all feel very good.
But like, it all goes well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, but you could have all that stuff and not build a business, like not build a good business, right? That lasts, right? That compounds, because he was right that it does take like 10 plus years. So you need something that compounds. But I think when you're serious about it, like you can kind of see through all that noise better, because you're looking like, is this a business that has good, fundamentals? Is it like default alive? Like, is it profitable perhaps?
Does it have customers that retain?
Right. Exactly. Are the customers retaining? So I think when you're serious about it, it's easier, for sure. And I feel like there's been years of us running ConvertFlow where there have been times where it's like we had to get serious about like what really mattered, like what was the signal in all that noise, right? And you have to kind of come back to that and kind of tune to that frequency again.
Yeah, and I think like when you do things that are aligned, it's easier. Like if you're doing something that is not aligned with maybe your strengths or your motives, or with the direction of the market, things like that, then it's just gonna be hard, and that you're pushing a boulder uphill. So, yeah, I think finding that alignment, is super important in order to have like a more fun journey, or like less friction in the journey, an easier journey maybe. I don't know.
I also think that it's easier when it's just like a non-negotiable. Like, I think the spirit of the tweet was like, you want all this optionality, right? But ironically, like when you only see one option in front of you, and you figure out how to make that work, right? I feel like that has been true for almost everything so far with ConvertFlow. We're like, we're gonna make this specific thing work, and then it feels like it's not, and you're like, that last point where you're like, I think I'm gonna give up on this thing, this one part of it, and then you start to figure it out, right? And that's what happens when you make it a non-negotiable.
Yeah. I don't know what this guy's intention was with his tweet, but and it's not like he's wrong with what he's saying here, but yeah, I get why maybe like it fired you up, John.
Yeah, you can't let those kind of pessimist people get in your head. Like, no one who's ever succeeded at building the company that that they want is thinking that way. And like, I mean, those thoughts, they're gonna be there, right? But you have to be able to like jujitsu them, and keep going, right? And that's how you get there. So,
All right. Well,
all right,
I guess that's a wrap for today.
today's lessons,
Yes.
wrapped up
With a little hot take.